We're up to number 7 of the 13 principles of the faith, the 13 descriptions of reality. And it is that Moses is the father of all prophets. What does that mean? I presented in the last one how there was always prophets, there was always people of special spiritual connection, special communication from God, but they were few and far between. They were the superstars of their particular talent and able to hear God speaking supernaturally. That's not for everybody. Just like, inventing the computer is not for everybody. There are superstars in every field of endeavor that really bring it home. Why didn't people listen to these superstars and follow their guidance in the way they ran their personal lives? Because who's to say you're correct? I've developed this own approach to my particular circumstances, and I see that you're a holy man, I see that you're very wise, etc., but it doesn't work for me. We're all familiar with that. It's hard to develop your own perfect family life, way of behaving, and taking control of yourself. Even when you have the instructions, do this and it'll work out, but it's not so immediately apparent, and it's difficult, and so we don't do it. So Moshe comes along, and he comes with a heightened reputation. And that's why he becomes the father of all prophets. Because, first of all, as we know from his story, he was raised in the emperor's house. And then he comes back when he's 80 years old to lead the Jewish people out with miracles and signs and wonders. The whole story there. So that right away, even Egypt recognizes him as a superior human being, unbelievable. And then he extricates the entire nation. Never happened before that or since that an entire nation just walked out of an ironclad regime like that. But even more than that, he brought them to Sinai. And at Sinai, the story goes, God spoke to the people. There were 600,000 men of army age, we're given the number, that stood at that mountain. Now, there must have been at least as many women, so that's 1.2 million. And then there's the seniors and the children. You're looking at 2-3 million people. And God, it says, came down and spoke to them. They all became prophets. They all heard God speaking. And more importantly, they heard God speaking to Moshe. And this was like, you have to understand that hearing God speak is an overwhelming experience. The description we have is most prophets just fell on the ground in a catatonic state or were in a deep slumber. It was a vision that took hold of them. Because it's an out-of-world experience. It's not normal. Moshe, on the other hand, was the only one able to just stand and talk to God as people speak one friend to another. He was of such a high degree of development. But once they heard God speaking to themselves, they came running to Moshe and said, we can't take this, we're going to die. It's overwhelming, it's frightening. You go and speak to God, you hear the rest of it, and come and tell us what he said. And God agreed and said, okay, listen what happened. They saw Moshe prophesizing, and he's able to do it, and they can't. And so they know he's a prophet with their own eyes and their own experience, and they know what it's like from their own experience, and they assign him the role to carry on and do it. So Moshe has this pedigree, uncontested. You are a prophet. And Moshe then gave us the sign for how do you tell a prophet in the future, because there were prophets after him. How do you know it's a prophet? So one of two ways. Either a known prophet like Moshe would say this guy is a prophet, so then you can trust him, or a prophet comes out of nowhere. He has to be of great intellect and of great character and piety, making him worthy of that development. And then he says, I have a prophecy. You say, well, tell me what's going to happen in the future. Say tomorrow, we'll test you out. And so he has to give them exactly what's going to happen, such that tomorrow at 2:30 under the oak tree in Hyde Park, it's going to start raining at 2:30 exactly, and it's going to rain for an inch and a half of water in a cup, and then it's going to stop. And so tomorrow we'll go to the old oak tree in Hyde Park and wait for the time. At 2:30 it's got to start raining at exactly 2:30 and fill up the cup, or that much water that he said, otherwise he's a false prophet. We reject him completely. Moshe is called the father of all prophets because he gave us the test. So no prophet can come and contest what Moshe said because Moshe gave us this test. So if you're going to contest what Moshe said otherwise, then you might as well contest the test that he gave us. You're arguing with the test, and so we have no way of proving that you're a prophet. So it's a self-test to be sure that we have another prophet. So Moshe is going to be always the supreme authority in this area. That's principle number 7.